My entitled sister-in-law and mother-in-law demand that my husband and I reschedule our entire wedding, all because my sister-in-law got pregnant. But now, even after I said no, we are not going to reschedule this wedding, they have now said that our marriage is stupid and that my sister-in-law's pregnancy is way bigger of an event than anything we would do. And at this point, my husband and I are so confused and we seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my fiance and I are set to be married in December. We got engaged in June of 2023 and decided on the wedding date a year and a half in advance for everyone's convenience. We have been dating for about 10 years and have been saving up for the wedding for 5 years. And we did it this way so we could afford an extravagant wedding in a palace in India. And we finally made those arrangements. My husband's sister has always been a golden child. She always got exactly what she wanted, as opposed to my husband, who they treated like a cash cow. Every time his mother needs anything expensive, he's the first call that she makes. I try not to get between them, but she's never shown any interest in his life. Now, coming to the wedding, we sent out our save the dates in December of 2023. That way, people can plan their holidays and their plans way in advance. My sister-in-law got married 3 years back, and it was a nice wedding, but not nearly as fancy as ours. When she knew about the plans, she started finding problems in everything, to a point where my husband asked her to stop interfering. Last week, we got a call from her in all the excitement, where she told us that she's pregnant and she's expecting a child in December. Both of us were shocked, but we were happy for her and we congratulated her. She then said to me, "So now I need you two to get married at City Hall because I'm gonna need help with the baby." And when she said this, I was baffled, and I told her the wedding is still on, and her having a child does not change our wedding plans. Now, she threw a fit when I said that and ended up hanging up on me. Later that day, his mom called us up and told us to postpone the wedding 6 months so his sister could attend it, and if we didn't, then she wouldn't be attending either, and that her daughter's pregnancy is a bigger event than our stupid marriage. Now, my husband was upset and chose not to respond, but I just lost my mind. I told her that if my sister-in-law prioritized her pregnancy over our marriage, which she knew about for a year and a half, we are not obligated to prioritize her pregnancy over our happiness. When I said that, my husband was absolutely speechless. So would me and my husband be the jerks if we didn't postpone our wedding? Because right now we are very frustrated and we seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, I don't think you would be the jerk at all, because this really has been known about for like over a year and a half. You set up this date, you've been saving up for it, you've seriously got some obvious plans that you want to follow through with. So for your sister to call you up and be like, "Okay, just get married at City Hall," as if this isn't some kind of like big event that you want to try and celebrate, that is like insane behavior, and there's no good excuse for that. She has no right to make that kind of demand from you, and it's honestly disgusting that she would even begin to entertain that. It's also really weird to me that the mother-in-law is like, "Oh, you're either gonna postpone it by 6 months or I'm not going either." And it's like, okay, then just don't show up. And the original poster goes on to explain in the comment section that they don't blame their sister-in-law for prioritizing their health and their baby, but for them to expect them to reschedule their entire wedding just for them, especially after all the trouble that this sister-in-law has caused them, that just doesn't seem right, and it really does seem insane. And I 100% agree with them. So no, you are not the jerk by denying this demand, and I don't blame you for shutting that down altogether. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled neighbor demands that I take down my fence from my backyard, as she claims that it's invading on her property by only 9 inches. So I decide to maliciously comply, resulting in my neighbor at my front doorstep once again, practically begging me to build a new fence since her aggressive German Shepherd no longer had an enclosed backyard that he could stay at. But after all she had put me through, as well as her saying she was going to take me to court if I didn't take down my fence, I told her I wasn't going to do a single thing. And I've honestly never felt better about getting back at my rude neighbor in my life. Here's what happened. About 5 or 6 years ago, I built a fence in my backyard. I talked with my neighbors and we decided on a good place to build the fence. We knew an approximate property line based on some survey pins, but we were simply too cheap to pay for a surveyor. So we just shook hands and I built the fence. It was a great deal for my neighbors. I paid for literally everything. I built the fence and all they had to do was give me a thumbs up when it was done. Well, a year later, they sold their house. That meant that I got a new neighbor. More specifically, I got someone who we will call Anna. Anna was from the big city. She was a realtor and she had flipped 8 houses in 12 years. Anna loved this new house and planned on staying for a long time. And she also had a dog. Razzie was a German Shepherd mix that spent most of the day outside while Anna went to work. Razzie Razzie was aggressive towards children, animals, insects, and any plants that waved in the breeze. Razzie also, as Anna once told me, loved to chew on furniture, and that's why Razzie had to stay outside so much. About 6 months after Anna moved in, I saw a surveyor walking around in my neighborhood, and he was paying special attention to my backyard. The next day, Anna showed up at my front door with a stack of papers and asked me if I was going to pay her for the 9 inches that my fence was encroaching on her property. I explained the handshake deal with the last neighbors, but of course, she was having no part of it. She wanted the fence moved or she wanted money, no discussions. She had even spoken to her lawyer friend and was perfectly happy to take me to court over the fence. She said to me, "I don't know how you guys do it out here in the sticks, but where I come from, we follow the rules." So I got rid of the fence. The next day, I unscrewed the horizontal rails from the brackets, stacked the fence panels up against my garage, and pulled up the fence post with my working van. About a week later, Anna shows up at my front door again, and suddenly she wants to know when I'm going to be building a new fence. It turns out, without my portion of the fence, she has not been able to let Razzie out unattended out of fear that he might run away, attack something, or get hit by a car. She also told me that she can't keep him in the house all day while she's at work anymore, since her furniture and her carpet are practically ruined. So I looked at her and I said, "Well, Anna, I'm not going to be rebuilding the fence. I don't want any legal trouble, and the best way to stay out of trouble is to not build near your property." When I said that, the look on her face was priceless. I thought she was going to cry, and she probably did when she got back home. She tried to protest, saying that she really needed the fence back, and she would even help pay for the new one. She told me how much she loved the style and aesthetic of the old one, and that it was just the location that she had a problem with. But you know what? I stood firm. There would be no new fence on my side of things. Fast forward, and she still never even got a fence. She made half-hearted attempts to put up some bamboo fencing, but Razzie tore through that stuff like wet newspaper. Eventually, I sold my place and I moved away. I took the old fence panels with me, and I still look at them every day when I let my dog out in the morning. And I'm honestly so glad that I got back at my rude neighbor in the way that I did. Yeah, that neighbor absolutely had all of that coming. First of all, who in their right mind's gonna act like that towards a fence? This lady greatly benefited from having that fence in the first place, and then she's gonna turn around and be like, "Oh, but I don't like it. That's not okay on my property." She was ready to go to court over those 9 inches of the fence being on her property. That is such a petty thing to do, and it's honestly so uncalled for. But it's honestly so satisfying to see her life pretty much fall apart right then and there, because she realized she screwed up big time. If she had just kept her mouth shut, there would still be a fence up to keep her aggressive dog in her property line. And now I bet that dog has completely ruined everything inside of her house. The furniture, the carpet, probably anything you can think of, that dog has probably chewed through. So good for the original poster for standing up for themselves and refusing to have any kind of like condescending discussion. Like she seriously tried to be like, "Okay, when's the new fence coming in?" while also offering literally nothing to get it built. Like, why would the original poster pay for a new fence that they literally just had up on their property? So I know if I was in the original poster shoes, I would be very frustrated, but thankfully they got revenge and ended up getting the last laugh. Am I the jerk for telling my son that I have no plans to motivate or support him after he is an adult? Because right now his mom is incredibly upset, and at this point I'm not really sure what to do. Here's what happened. So my oldest kid is a good kid but kind of lazy. His mom has always protected him, and she has her reasons. Her first husband and child passed away about 22 years ago. 2 years after that, we met, we fell in love, we got married, and we had a kid. Unfortunately for me, our son's birth was a catalyst for regression for her. He could do no wrong. If I tried to punish or even just correct him, she would just get upset and start crying or even fight with me. If he found something difficult and I wanted him to work through it or just try harder, she would step in and tell me to back off or actually just do it for him. Well, this led to our divorce, and I wanted to be a father and not a spectator. She fought so I wouldn't get custody, and I ended up with visitation. My kid wouldn't do anything though. He wouldn't bring his homework over, and all he wanted to do was play video games. If I didn't let him, then he would have tantrums, and it was exhausting. And she would always back him up. It was just always my fault. Fast forward, and I remarried to my wife, who we will call Diane. We have 2 children, and we are doing our best to raise them right. My son stopped coming over when he was 14, and even though I still invite him, he rarely responds. My child support just stopped, and his mom has been giving it to him to do whatever he wanted for the last 3 years, which honestly is not my problem. Well, he called me to see if I could help him with money. I asked him what for, and he said that his mom can't give him the allowance that he's used to getting. I asked him if he's going to be attending some sort of like post-secondary school, and he said no. So I just told him to get a job. Well, when I said that, his mom absolutely lost her mind. She said that she will take me back to court so her poor baby can live his life his way. way. I wish for the odds to be ever in her favor, and then I just hung up. Now that he's an adult, I never have to talk to her ever again. It's too bad because I loved her very much, but not anymore. My son asked me to help him find a job, and I said that I would. I told him to send me his resume, and I've been waiting about 3 weeks for it. He called me yesterday to see if I had any progress on finding him a job, and I said that he never sent me his resume. Well, he then got upset that I didn't remind him. I told him that I was not going to motivate him to do anything, that I would be here if he needed help, but that it would never be for money ever again. Now, I let him come over and I helped him with his resume, and I also talked to him about going into a trade or even a community college. He is beginning to understand how absolutely messed up his future is now, especially since his mom cannot do everything for him. He's now upset with his mother because he doesn't have any life skills, but she's mad at me for showing him the truth. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, you are not the jerk at all, because you are giving your son the best education he could ever get. Like, this guy's got to realize sooner than later that anything he wants to do in his life is literally on his shoulders. No one's going to be there during the hard times to be like, oh, you got to get up and get things done. That is literally just going to fall on him and him alone. And you know what? It really sucks that his mom didn't do a better job of teaching her son this, because seriously, she set him up for failure. So no, I don't think you're the jerk, and I think you did the best thing for him at this stage of his life. My crazy friend insists that I'm a different height than what I really am, and it's honestly driving me crazy, as she refuses any evidence that I tried to give her, despite the fact that I've measured myself multiple times, because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, I feel insane having to make this post, but this has been bothering me for several years now. I'm a 26-year-old female, and I have a close friend who insists that I'm 5'6", but the thing is, I'm not. I'm 5'3", maybe a tiny bit over on a good day, but I'm definitely not 5'6". Like, I would tell her no, I'm not 5'6", and she would just argue with me about my own height. It got so bad that when I went to the doctor for regular checkups, I had a nurse measure me, you know, a 20-something-year-old woman, which they normally don't do for obvious reasons, and she confirmed to me that I'm 5'3", which of course I already knew, and I relayed this information to my friend, but she still didn't believe me, or even thought that the nurse measured me wrong. I had my dad, who is tall and able to see over my head to get an accurate reading, literally measure me himself just because I felt like I was going insane, and he also got that I'm 5'3", to which my friend said, measuring tapes are known to be off, which, like, sure, I'm not saying they can't be, but I'm consistently getting the same result over and over again, and this is with multiple measuring implements. Now, I don't know if it's because she says she's 5'6" and she insists that we're the same height or something like that, which, like, yeah, we are around the same height, but we've never stood side by side and checked down to the inch or anything like that. There could easily be a few inches between us, but I don't want to argue about how tall she is when that's exactly what she does to me. At the end of the day, she can say her own height is whatever she wants it to be. I just want her to leave me alone about my height. Now, this comes up way more often than I would like it to, and I've handled it by just brushing over the topic, but it really bothers me, and I don't want it to bother me for the rest of my life. At the same time, this is pretty clearly a battle that I'm not going to win with her, and therefore, I don't want to keep arguing about it. Honestly, aside from this one thing, she really is a great person, and she is a great friend, but this is driving me up a wall. How do I get her to stop gaslighting me over my own height? What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, I think you might be onto something. I think she's saying that you're 5'6" because she wants to believe that she's 5'6", and if you guys are similar in height, then she's trying to believe, oh yeah, that means I'm 5'6" as well. And anytime you're like, no, I'm 5'3", I literally proved it, it only shakes up her worldview because you're the same height as her, and that means that everything she's like told people or said about herself is just completely wrong. So literally, this has nothing to do with you, and I'm pretty sure this has everything to do with her. So honestly, the next time you see her and she wants to be like, no, you're 5'6", you should pull out like 5 different tape measures and be like, okay, let's prove it. Like, that literally might be the only way she proves it to herself that not only are you not 5'6", but also she's definitely not 5'6" either. Because that's honestly what I think's going on here, and it really sucks that you're caught in the crossfire. Am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that she should be ashamed of herself and learn to be a mature adult after she mouths off against my niece and nephew? Here's what happened. So my brother had 2 kids with his ex by the time he was 21 years old. He stuck around for a couple of years, but when they broke up, he left the kids as well. He paid no child support, made no effort to keep in touch with the kids, did not check if they were okay. He literally did nothing. The rest of the family let the relationship drop too, but I was the exception. I stayed part of my niece and nephew's lives. I still have a good relationship with them today, and they're really close to my kids. 5 years ago, my brother got married, and now he's expecting baby number 3 with his wife. After settling into family life, wife, he started to think more about his oldest two, and he made the decision to reach out to them. He was met with silence initially, and then after speaking to his ex, he got a brief message from his kids that they were still mad and hurt that he left. They had contact for about a month, and it was very sporadic. He asked if they could meet in person, and the kids said no, but they said they would do a video call with him one time, and that was it. This call happened 2.5 months into their reconciliation. At some point during this, he mentioned wanting them to meet his wife and other kids. They told him that was not going to happen, and that they didn't want to reconcile with him. My brother was surprised, and had thought that maybe them opening up about being angry and hurt was a sign that they were willing to work through that. They told him that it would be one thing if he didn't settle down and started a family all over again, but the fact that he did that and then reached out to them was just too much for them, and they want nothing to do with the family that he created now. This then led to a back and forth where he said they have younger siblings, and they told him very clearly that they will never acknowledge or accept them as siblings, and they will never accept him as their dad, and that he needs to move on. I spoke to my niece and nephew after the call as they reached out to me, and they said it was good to close that door and to have the decision be their own. They felt like they finally got some closure. Well, my brother wasn't prepared for the outcome, and his wife is furious that my niece and nephew rejected them for existing. She started bad-mouthing the kids at my parents' house in front of all of us. My brother told her to stop, but she told him that they should be ashamed of themselves for reacting like spoiled brats who didn't get their way, and punishing innocent children when they're supposed to be grown adults now. I finally spoke up and I told my sister-in-law that she should be ashamed of herself for talking like that about the kids my brother abandoned, because he didn't give a second thought to them until he had settled down with her and their kids. I told her that she should learn to be a mature adult and accept that his actions had consequences and that this is one of them. Well, when I said that, she then became offended and started saying I have no right to speak to her that way. And now some of my family are telling me that I should have said nothing. So honestly, am I the jerk in this scenario? Because right now I'm still very frustrated. No, you are not the jerk, and in my opinion, it was your right and responsibility to step up. Your sister-in-law is a complete moron. She does not understand what those kids went through, and she clearly doesn't understand her deadbeat husband. And that's exactly what the brother is in this situation. He gave up on his kids and walked out on their lives, and then came back with a new family and said, hey, let's be a family again. Like, what are you talking about? That is so disgusting. Like, just imagine how the niece and nephew feel in this scenario, where they see their dad with a new wife and a new family, with him trying to be like, oh yeah, we could be a family again. Like, was he really expecting some kind of like blanket forgiveness for all the crap that he put them through? Like, that is not just gonna happen from one video call. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not the case. So for your sister-in-law to be mouthing off like this, when she very clearly has no idea what she's talking about, in my opinion, is something that absolutely needed to be shut down, because the original poster was there for those kids when no one else was. And if anybody is the most qualified to talk about what these kids have gone through, it is absolutely the original poster. Am I the jerk for leaving my sister's wedding reception, where I was supposed to be taking pictures, after my stepsister made it blatantly clear that she did not want me there? Because right now, she and my mom are very upset, and at this point, I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, I'm a professional photographer, mostly industrial photography for businesses and such, and I do other types for myself and as art. I love taking pictures of the old architecture in my city and of the surprising wildlife in it. My mom asked me if I would be willing to take pictures for my stepsister's wedding to help them save some money. She asked me to do it as a gift. She knows that my stepsister, who we will call Tina, absolutely hates me, and I pretty much reciprocated, but I decided to be the bigger person and I agreed. I was there for the makeup and the wedding party and getting dressed, and I took a ton of pictures at the wedding. I prepared a checklist of all the different formals that she wanted and made sure that I got them all. I mean, I did my absolute best. When I got to the reception, there was no place for me to sit. I had gotten there right away, so I could get pictures of the wedding party arriving and all of that. And the wedding party had stopped to use the bathroom and get freshened up. I called my mom to find out where I was meant to sit and to eat and do pretty much anything else, and she talked to Tina and called me back. And it was then that I could tell that she was upset. She said that Tina thought that since I was working and not a guest, she didn't have a seat or any food for me. After I heard that, I thanked my mom for the information, and then I just left. I took my boyfriend, who was my assistant that day, and we went out for dinner for my treat. I mean, we had been on the go for 8 hours by that point. I turned off my phone and we had a nice night out, and we saw the new Mad Max movie. Sunday morning, I turned on my phone and it was full of messages asking me where I went, then demanding that I come take pictures, and then her cursing me out. I called my mom to see what was up, and she said that Tina was very upset that I left and that all her reception pictures are going to be from cell phone cameras. She said I should have just gone to get a quick bite to eat at McDonald's and then came back. Now, I told her that I felt terrible and I would give her a full refund, but I also said that this was the last straw and that I do not want to hear anything when I do not invite Tina to my wedding next year. Now, Tina obviously thinks that I'm a jerk, and my mom thinks that I should have kept the peace. And at this point, I'm just gonna drop off the thumb drive with all the pictures, and I'm just gonna wash my hands of this altogether. No editing, no nothing. So am I the jerk for leaving early? Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk at all. Your stepsister decided to treat you like garbage, and as a result, she won the stupid prize of getting exactly what she deserved. Like seriously, it would not have been that much to find one spot for you to sit and eat, or at least enjoy the reception altogether. So for her to pretend that you're not even a guest is so disturbing to me. And in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would be just as upset and probably would have left in the same way that you did. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.